Hello, everyone, and welcome to Weekly Manga Recap here on the 1st of November, 2018. It is the beginning of an old era. Going back. We're bringing it back, Chris. Going back to when things were great.
Back when I didn't have depression all the time, Nick?
I don't know how long you've had depression, so...
Some say I've always had it.
So then no.
Damn. Back when the Giants were good at playing football?
They were certainly better.
Yeah, there we go.
Certainly better than they are currently. Where are they, like 1-7?
Something like that. They traded away like the two of the best players on defense too.
And
for fourth round picks.
And Odell Beckham Jr. Is thinking about leaving and all of that stuff. And
I get so many texts from my dad, who God love him. He's on retirement now. So he has a lot of free time to just
right.
at 2 PM be like, God damn it, Odell. And I'm just like, Dad, I don't know what he did. You gotta give me context.
I'm too busy now. Yeah. We were going to originally have a special guest on this show, but it's okay. They'll be back later. And there will be much rejoicing, I think, when that time comes. But there is going to be much rejoicing today, anyway. We've got an episode packed full of actually some very eventful chapters, so I think that we should just get right into it, don't you?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because there will be, in case you missed it, there will be an additional part of A World Triggered in My Heart and Backdoor at the end of this. So stay tuned to the very end.
Oh, we are still doing that this episode?
Yes, we are still doing it.
Oh, okay. Okay, fine. So that's why she's not showing up today. Okay.
She's like, I can't hang her up to this.
I can't do this. Not again.
No boss.
We are going to kick things off as we normally do. Yes, there's a new series is back in the lineup, but that I kind of made a decision like, no, I like the order we've got. We're going to stick with that. So that's what we're doing. We're going to start off with My Hero Academia then for the recap portion of the Manga Recap. It's chapter number 203, Flexible Juzo Honenuki, which does not begin with Juzo Honenuki. It begins with Endeavor, with his big old scarry goddamn face, looking at his phone. And some people at his agency are talking to him, or talking at him, but he's kind of preoccupied with his phone. And he
like millennials are nowadays, isn't it really? Always looking at their phone.
Not interacting with the real world. There's stuff going on around him, and he's just staring at the screen. Yeah.
Losing touch. Becoming robots.
Look at him.
I don't understand as a problem. Robots are awesome.
Look at him trying to interact with his son.
Fuck.
This is what's wrong with today's generation.
Communication.
I do actually really love this detail. If you want to like redeem Endeavor and make him seem like way less of a douchebag, having him be left hanging in a text conversation with a whole bunch of red messages is a good way to start, I think. He seems so defanged by this experience. He's trying to tell Todoroki something important, and he sent him like 4 messages in a row, and Todoroki just hasn't texted him back, but he can see the has been read notification on all of them. He's like, come on! Text me back!
Waiting for a reply.
I would like this if it's gone for a little bit longer, and there was like one bit where it was like Todoroki Shoto is writing with a little spinning circle, and then it stops. It doesn't come back. But Endeavor actually has something apparently important that he wants to go over with his son, which is specifically the technique that he didn't think that Todoroki could handle in that flashback we saw previously from Todoroki's perspective. He wants to pass on that technique for Todoroki to learn, but of course he's ignoring him at this point. Or as the people in his agency point out, well, he's in class, so he's just being a good boy, not, texting on his phone in the middle of a lecture. So we cut back over to the third battle between classes 1A and 1B. And a little bit of conversation happens between people. Person who does the most talking is Honenuki. who basically assesses, okay, this is probably how these guys are going to attack us. They'll probably use Shoji to scout. Todoroki will be the person at the front of their attack. And if we stay grouped up in this wide open space, and suddenly a giant wall of ice appears and starts covering them. It's, as gigantic as it always is whenever Todoroki uses it, although Uraraka notes that he has actually modified it a little bit so that he can actually keep a view of his opponents while rampaging over them. Meanwhile, while he's at the front of the attack, Ida and Ojiro are in the shadows preparing to basically launch their branch attack. But all of a sudden, as Ida rushes in with his Recipro Burst, Honinuki, or Mudman, as his superhero name is, softens all the ice around them. And we get an explanation of his quirk. In fact, we get an explanation of all of the quirks in this group aside from Tetsu, which we knew already. Mudman's quirk is that anything he touches turns soft, which seems like it's built up as the most powerful quirk in the group, considering that it just completely overwhelms all of Class 1A's team pretty much immediately. So the ice, basically melts off of them. The perch that Ojiro had suddenly softens underneath him because Honinuki had laid traps essentially in different places before they got there. So they are losing footfalls in all sorts of places. Ida tries to bail out Ojiro, and he can't get a footing because the ground collapses underneath him and he starts falling into mud. So this guy got built up pretty quickly. He just like, nope, you're trapped, fuck you. Then we get introductions to Kaibara. He has drills. He can make his bodies drill. And then there's Tsunotori, the horn girl. She shoots out horns. Okay. And each of the people in Class 1B seem to attack and pin down someone in Class 1A, with Tetsu capping it off by just lunging through Todoroki's wall of ice and just tackling him to the ground. And it looks like Class 1A is on the ropes until Ida suddenly just starts making this big heroic speech, despite the fact that he is buried up to his face in softened ice. And Honinuki's like, you're gonna run out of fuel if you keep on struggling fruitlessly down there. And he's like, nope, I don't have to. Apparently he's just overcome his time limit on his Recipro Burst now. And he says that he's going to go full throttle the whole time. And he bursts up out of the ground, unleashing a new style that he has apparently created recently called Recipro Turbo. So very action-packed chapter, just kind of drops you into the middle of it. Here's stuff happening. And that's about it.
So I'm pretty pumped for the next chapter because it's been a while since Ida has done anything.
Mm-hmm.
I feel this team is unfortunately cursed to lose by the virtue of foreshadowing of whatever the ice face dude need to get his new technique. So I feel like that's sort of the setup here is like, oh well, he'll get stronger after he reconnects with his dad, but this team has to be kind of the self-sacrifice in here to actually put like the tensity on there of like, oh well, they'll lose the next one and then it's all over, so Bakugo's team has to do it or whatever. But yeah, I know I'm still in this place. So I just can't get into this arc for whatever reason. These fights are kind of just noise to me right now.
So you think that it'll be one of those things where, someone manages to defeat Todoroki because of a particular weakness of his, and it's going to be like, oh, if only he could do X.
Yeah, like they set up that notion. He's like, I haven't learned that technique, and his dad's being like, I want, unless he spontaneously develops it during the match, which is a possibility. Maybe that's
entirely possible.
Like, yeah, he'll just do that. But it just feels like And maybe they won't go with the most obvious, but it feels like the obvious way would be like these guys lose, so that way Class 1B is down 2-1, and they have to win out if they want to keep in it. But again, it's an arbitrary victory.
if they want to stay eligible for the Christmas Bowl or whatever.
Yeah, I was like, if they want to get the class pizza party, only one class gets it, and you have to win 3 of the best of 5. I don't know, but I just feel like that's the way they structure it. Again, could be very wrong, but we shall see.
Well, we'll see. Yeah, I think one of the things I do appreciate about this one is that it's just like by this point the audience is familiar with all the stuff that's going on, so it's just like, yeah, here we go. Just here's the quirks. Here's them fighting each other. Just drop you into it. And so, okay. So from there we are going to move on to Food Wars Shokugeki no Soma. Pardon me. Sorry. It's chapter 285. His last meal. So
was not expecting this chapter to be as emotional as it ended up being.
As established in the last couple of chapters, the current task that Soma and company, but they're not in this chapter. Takumi and Megumi don't show up in this bit at all. So have to pass this old retired former Cuisinier Noir by serving him a meal fit to be his last, which Soma is very angry about. And he says that at the start of this chapter, he's going to knock some sense into this old man. We get some just general noise about this guy, more exposition about his past and stuff. Basically, whenever he acts like an old man who's senile and doesn't, really understand what's going on, the bodyguard who is, arbitrator, I guess, of the test just thinks he may look old and play at being senile, but his tongue and eye for cuisine are still in prime shape. So, and he's served exclusively as a Yakuza family's top chef through 3 generations of okay. So he was a badass. Gotcha. He's awesome. It goes on for like 2 pages. And basically this old guy is completely looking down on all the chefs that have to appear before him. Suddenly Soma just shows up in front of him and is like, "Hey, you talking shit, old man?"
Fuck you old fuck.
I do love this detail because the arbitrator tries to drag him away. He's like, you're not allowed to be here. And someone's like, you can't diss us. How dare you do that? And the guy's like, why is this guy so strong? How can he just resist me? I'm taller than him. And I do like that it kind of seems to be a recurring thing between him and Erina. That they're just so stubborn that it doesn't matter that they are physically inferior to the people around them, that they're just so angry about the situation that they go on a rampage about it. Or when Erina was tied to the chair and she was like, "Fuck you, I'll take you on right now."
I'll kill all you motherfuckers.
Anyway, so finally someone gets rushed off. And the arbiter is like, "Aren't you even worried that this is going to bias the judge against you?" And someone's like, "What? No, he wouldn't do that."
I wanted that eventually to happen where a judge is just like, I'm not even gonna eat.
I don't like you.
I'm just gonna give you a fail.
Soma creates Monaka sweet bean stuffed wafers, seemingly, according to first glance. They look like Oreos stacked on top of each other into sandwiches, but I don't know nothing about what these are. So
to me, they look like 2 Reese's peanut butter cups flipped over and made into a sandwich with something in the middle.
Yes. Did I say Reese's Pieces? I meant peanut butter cups.
I think you said Oreo.
Did I?
I don't know.
I meant to.
We might all be having a stroke. Do you smell burnt toast?
I meant to say Reese's peanut butter cup sandwiches, as you did. That's what I was thinking of, and I probably just said the wrong thing. Anyway, but then again, I don't eat chocolate at all, so it could be anything. Yeah.
Nick's like, those are like spicy, right? Like spicy peanut butter cups.
Oh, spicy peanut butter, Asian dish. Yeah. So the old man says, like, "Oh, you think that the only dish fit to serve me is some tea snack? Fuck you, kid. All right.
I'll poop in your goddamn house. I'll cut holes in your socks and fuck your dog." weirdly specific threats.
And break into your house at night and wreck up the place. So the guy perceives it as an insult, and someone just says, like, all right, if you've got that much energy left, then this is going to be perfect for you. Why don't you eat it? And so the old man digs in, and suddenly it's like he's on steroids, Chris. Oh my God, his blood's pumping, his muscles are expanding, and pulsing with energy and life. You think someone's just like, I slipped so much Viagra in there? Yeah.
I gave him a heart attack. He can't fail me if he's dead.
Well, yeah, but you can't get a passing grade with a he can't fail me if he's dead. Just like stealing the key out of the guy's pocket.
Another satisfied customer as he's literally just putting dirt on top of him. He doesn't deserve a grave in the ground.
I'm not dead yet. Fuck off, old man.
Sounds like you need more peanut butter cups. The secret ingredient is rat poisoning.
It's like stepping on his neck. Swallow it, old man.
You heard me. Fuck my dog, will you?
Want something fit to be your last meal, huh? Soma explains that the supposed tea cake is actually filled with Ankimo monkfish liver. I don't know what that is.
It sounds horrible, but everyone else is like, oh, so succulent. So delicious. I'm like, I guess I'm just not a fish guts guy.
He apparently trimmed and deveined monkfish liver and then salted it to remove its fishiness. Okay, I don't know what that would taste like, so I'm sure it tasted good somehow. I believe you. The old man's like, oh, it's so delicious. I love my new muscles. No. Wait a minute, I'm not actually muscle. This is a dream. Anyway, I'm so hungry now. I wanna eat more. Why is this happening? And Soma says, this is item number 44 on the Yukihira Family Restaurant secret menu. That's right. I didn't even come up with this recipe.
I saw it online. It looked really good.
I just Googled a yummy looking dish to use.
I looked up online. They had something called the Philly taco, so I just wrapped a cheesesteak in a slice of pizza, and now you're eating it. Huh? Bon appetit.
I just ordered this on Grubhub. You have to pay the driver's tip.
Yeah, I didn't put a tip on there, so unless you want us to both look like assholes, you need to tip the guy. Which, by the way, has happened to me recently, too.
Wow.
I had to drive, like, 15 miles to get to some guy's place to, like, drop off the food. He gave me the wrong address, so, of course, I had the awkward... And put on there, knock on the back door, so I look like a creeper, like, knocking on some old lady's house, and she's like, hello? I'm like, oh, you're not the one who ordered this food. Eventually get there, he's like, oh, man, I don't have any money on me for a tip, but if you come back around here, I'm going to get you. I'm like, I'm not driving 15 miles back out here on the assumption you might give me money.
That sounds like a lame excuse, honestly.
Oh, I'm sure it was. He was already like...
Oh, I don't have any money on me now.
Well, he was bitching already. He's like, it costs so much to get delivery. I'm like, you're ordering food from a restaurant.
15 minutes away.
What are you expecting, dude?
What? It costs? There's a delivery fee? What's that?
It costs money for goods and services? And somehow I'm the asshole?
Money can buy many peanuts. So, at this point, now that the guy has thoroughly enjoyed the dish, Soma goes into lecture mode, and he says, what the hell you mean last meal? What are you doing asking for something like that? It doesn't matter if you're normal or a noir. To all chefs out there, cooking is a vast and endless wasteland that stretches out further than anyone can see, and anybody can go out and explore it for their whole lives. So if you don't have the strength to stand and cook anymore, look at all those good, healthy teeth you've got left. That means you can still taste and enjoy all kinds of dishes. So why are you acting like you're going up and die tomorrow, huh? All of a sudden, the guy is just, like, dead.
He's just like, oh, there goes my ticker. Boom, right into his fucking peanut butter cup dish.
I'm coming, Elizabeth. So.
Oh, he's Macho Man. Oh, dear.
Not what I was referencing, but...
Coming back to you, Elizabeth.
Not what I was referencing, but okay. Now, someone does actually deliver this kind of little touching short little speech, which is, hey, I know everyone's going to die eventually. So if you feel it actually coming to yourself one day, you can come to my restaurant, and the dishes I'll cook up for you then are the only ones fit to be your last meal. But this dish right here, just consider it the start of that one. That's a sweet little thing.
That's very, very much so. Like, when you can place like an actual emotional benefit to a lot of like their food, and that's the reason why it's kind of like a successful deal, it's going to be a much more interesting sort of thing than just like, wait a minute, he made chicken stock out of chicken bones?
We are never going to let that die.
Like, it's just a much more interesting thing when he's just like, and he doesn't know the reason either. Like, they specifically note after this, he's like, he had no idea that this guy was going to kill himself after this. And like, we didn't know that logic going in when he gave like a passing score to all the noir chefs either. They were just like, hey, here's a really fucking good dish. And he's like, that's great, pass or whatever. Like, it's just a more interesting thing when someone's just like, I don't think you're actually dying, man, so I'm not going to cook you your last meal, when you actually want to, do it, man. It's very, very sweet.
So, I mean, he knew enough about the guy that it was like, okay, so you think that you can't enjoy this? Fuck you. You can still enjoy it. Come on. Don't give up on your passion so easily. And yeah, when you are actually going to drop dead at some point, I will prepare you a good last meal. But until then, live your life to the fullest, and here's a dish to get you started on that. That's a really, and again, a lot of Soma's best moments, it feels very in character for him to be, defiantly supportive. Like he does something good for someone, but it's because he's just so bullheaded, and he can't allow people to take a more pessimistic attitude.
It's a very good first note to start this sort of contest on. So it's nice to get this and not start off on something where you're like, we'll see if it gets better later on.
Yeah, and as opposed to I think that we're hopefully going to get some stuff like this, which is Soma's perpetual optimism and ridiculous self-confidence going up against the reality of how harsh the cooking world is. And we find out later, after the guy passes by shooting his pop gun that says you pass for Soma, that the Yu-Gi-Oh villain guy seems to know that the Noir actually is carrying a second pistol, a revolver that he is planning on shooting himself in the head with tomorrow. But because of his encounter with Soma, you know what? Maybe he won't actually use it, and he'll actually experience this world. And he's actually learned something from Soma as a result of this whole experience. And just to wrap things up, we cut over to An, who reports to the leader of the BGO, or GBO, I think, that Soma has passed. And we see a little bit through the screen. I don't know. That looks like a woman through there to me. The long hair. Yeah, so
I'm trying to think. Are there any hugely notable female characters left to reveal? Is Erin's mom dead?
I honestly do not recall. Let's see here. Wait, let me look that up real quick. Shook.
Could also be Soma's mother, although I thought the implication with Soma's mother is that...
Soma's mother is probably dead.
Well, I thought the implication was also that Soma's mother was a normal person, too. That was, like, where Jerichiro was like, oh, let me settle down to a family restaurant, because that's,
I don't think it's been established if Erin's mother is alive or dead. And it would make sense if she were part of this, considering that she actually is part of the Nakiri line. So,
possibility.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to move on from there to Eden Zero.
All right. Eden Zero, Chapter 18. Wind howls on the highway! Because it sounds like, I don't know, like an AC/DC song or something.
Or like, something that a motorcycle, some song about a motorcycle is going to start playing. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, we get into this chapter, we find out, like, this dude, as he fights, is just like, Panama, Panama. So, Shiki is fighting the mysterious ninja-like guy whose name we find out later as this chapter is Jin, so I'm not going to bother giving him a title or anything like that.
He has wind powers and his name is Jin. Yeah. Never heard that one before.
It's very, very, very fitting. And they have a bit of a fight. Shiki. Shiki's using some techniques. He's bouncing around. He's doing a lot of stuff. They basically exchange some blows. Yeah. And Jin knocks Shiki into like highway traffic.
Yeah.
And they start having their fight on a truck. Like Shiki uses his ether gear to like hang onto the side of a truck. The guy's launching his missile like arms around. And then finally Jin uses like a giant like wind X / thing. It's called a Sky Mech Ninjutsu attack. And I assume it looks like it's pure wind that does, and I'm not entirely certain, but again, his name's Jin, so it makes sense. And he makes like a giant cross / sort of scar on the highway. All the cars are kind of screwed up by it. Shiki actually has to kind of like save a guy. Well, I guess he doesn't intentionally go out of his way to save him. He's also on that car that's going to careen over the side, but Shiki saves a guy by basically like Captain America holding it so it doesn't fall over the side of it and stopping it there. And then he's like, hey, dude, don't bring innocent people into this. And Jin's like, no, I haven't secured our target yet. Oh, I guess we have to go anyway. So he's like, I'm gone now. My name is Jin. If you wish to challenge me, find me on Gilst. Poof. And he vanishes. And
Ninja vanish.
And he's like, someday when the wind howls.
What does that mean?
He's like, it sounds so cool. Did Van Halen sing that?
But no.
As the wind disappears, he's like, no. Like that's like his whoosh sound. So the Belia, I can't remember if that's her name or not. But it's something similar like that. It's like, oh, this is gonna be the best video ever. Thanks for saving me. And he's like,
speaking of which, if you go to the beginning of the chapter, that, you know, not counting the title page, there's the panel of her, you know, getting really excited recording the fight while she's holding her B-Cube thing up. How does that thing record anything? Because she's covering the front of it with her finger.
I assume this is like a technology world, and like technology is supposed to be more advanced, and maybe it's a device that records in like a spectrum around it or something like that.
If it turns out that she has ruined her chance of making a great B-Cube video because she had her finger over the lens,
that'd be fucking great.
That'd be amazing.
She's just a fucking idiot.
If she doesn't have, you know, a team of 5 people helping her out, that she's actually incompetent and can't produce a video to save her life.
Yeah. The whole encounter sort of ends with Shiki left with Pino, and he's like, hey, I gotta scream something real quick. And he just screams into the air, ninjas are awesome! We cut back to the Shooting Star Guild, or Shooting Starlight Guild, rather, and the guild secretary, I think was her position.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, oh, wow, we haven't seen Rebecca in a while. It's been a bit. And then Happy shows up, and Happy's kind of fucked up. It's
such a little bit it's like
an arm's missing, one ear's missing. It's like a chunk of his head has been ripped open, and you can see like the circuitry and gears inside. And he's like, fuck yeah, we were in the Guildmaster's room and we were attacked. And the next thing I knew, Rebecca and the Guildmaster were gone, so I don't know what to do. And as if on cue, as though that like triggered the next like, oh, sequence initiated. Next step in the video game cutscene. The video comes on to be like, multiple people are being kidnapped. If you're a B-Cuber, do not go outside. You know, stay safe. And Shiki's really angry, and he uses his gravity power unintentionally to like crush a pool table. And I'm like, I hope you're planning to pay for that, because the pool table didn't kidnap your friend. So I mean,
can you imagine? Yes, once a cute B-Cuber tries to stand near me, I don't really have any appendages, but I'll kidnap her somehow.
Yeah, she'll trip and fall into one of my pockets, and then I'll hoist myself upwards and shuffle out
with my very mobile legs.
They also note that specifically they believe that the group that's working there is over on Gilst. So that's where Shiki's like, Jin. And then we see a new character, someone we haven't seen before, who is in kind of like a kimono of some kind.
It's half of a kimono.
Well, to be fair, the first shot we see is her butt, because of course it is. And her kimono conveniently splits at that part, so you just see, I guess, whatever her underwear or whatever. Yeah, you just see like... It's
essential. It's essential that heroes show us that she's got a thigh gap. Yeah. So.
But what's more interesting to me, that kimono has like a leaf pattern on it. That is 100% pot leaves. There's not a thought in my mind that this is not a chick that is wearing a pot leaf kimono.
Well, look at her expression too. She's so zoned out right now. She's
like, whoa, Eden Zero. Oh, I wonder how good the gaunches are. Oh, but out to get into the fights, I realized I forgot my pants. So it's this weird thing where we're like, okay, this is a character, I guess, to keep in mind. Because then we cut over to Rebecca, who is on board a ship. She's kidnapped. She's tied up. She's with a bunch of other girls who are all crying and sobbing because they're all being kidnapped, because it wouldn't be a hero arc if there wasn't like some sex slave subplot to it. And a bunch of guys come in and are like, hey, be quiet in there. Crying ain't going to get you out of here. You girls belong to the great and powerful sister now. And we see Jin is there among them. Along with, I don't know, a tall guy who has no chin. And I think a Russian robot, it just goes, Moskwy. And I'm like, I don't know what that is. What, is that a phrase of some kind? Actually, hold on, let me look this up if that actually means anything.
And he's got a black circle where his belly button would be, and there is a freaking don't push warning over it.
I don't know. Nothing seems to come up when I type Moscow. There's a city in California called that, but in my mind, it's like, I don't know. It sounds so Russian, and I'm like, is he supposed to be Russian? Also, I like how he seems to be a robot, but it looks as though they still designed for him to have very large bosoms. Like you're like, I want to build a fat robot. But that's essentially all that they do. There's some interesting stuff to maybe get into. The Guildmaster was supposedly kidnapped as well. So is it one of the girls that we kind of met here? Is the Guildmaster in on it? Like, you know, there's some interesting stuff to kind of get into. I don't know who the pot leaf kimono lady is supposed to be, but I don't know. Maybe she's going to be significant. We don't know where Weiss is in all this. Some interesting stuff going on. It's just, it's one of those things that's kind of hard to get into when you're like, this is such a hero standby of like, how about one of the female character gets kidnapped and is maybe made a slave of some kind, or I don't know.
Also, the fact that all the girls are tied up. We get it. We get a hero. You like bondage. All right. There is no jumpstart or Boruto or anything, so we never learn.
Oh, shit, right. I always forget that's there. Nick, are we supposed to be alphabetical?
No.
Damn. All right, hold on. Let me open up. We never learn. Question 85. The Star of Ultimate Love and the Name of X. Part 1. All right, so we're into at least another more than one chapter miniature arc of some kind. And we open up with Fumino, who's in her house, and she's looking at a letter, and she puts it down on the table, and we see that it reads, Parent Student Teacher Conferences. So we cut away to the next day when these conferences, well, I don't know if it's the next day, but it's the day of the conferences. And we see Uega with his mother and their teacher. And of course, the teacher's complimenting the fact that Uega's mother looks so young and pretty. And she's like, oh, please, it's not. She's like, Mom, you're embarrassing me. But then it's like all good things because they're like, you've been working really hard. You're on course for the VIP recommendation. He kind of
which his mom doesn't know about. Yeah.
Yeah. And he brushes off. He's like, oh, it's nothing. And they're like, oh, you know, with your grades, you could get into any number of programs. So what's your top choice? And Uega's like, which one is best for getting you a good job and earning a good living? I don't know why this hit me very hard. Maybe it's because I grew up kind of poor too. When the mom's just like, wait, are you concerned about money? And he's like, no, whatever. And she's like, hey, you know, I don't know about the programs or anything like that, but, you know, don't let your family, you know, I don't want you getting your concern for your family dictating your future. You know, whatever you choose, I'll support you. So don't compromise your most important choice. And this is sort of complimented by her also looking out the window and being very, very like embarrassed by seeing like not
embarrassed. She's excited.
She's very excited rather to see a bunch of like young kids kind of like being affectionate with one another. She's like, oh, they're holding hands. Oh, those ones just kissed. So then Fumino shows up and she's like, oh, hey, what's going on, Yuiga? And her mom already has a nickname for her, which is like, oh, Fumi. And she immediately just bolts. She's like, bye later. I love you guys. She wants to, I guess, try to hook them up. I don't know. And Yuiga's like, yeah, that's my mom. She's obsessed with romance. And Yuiga realizes in that moment, I think like all of us did, they're like, oh, hey, wait, your dad's like a big thing for your character. What's up? And she's like, he's not here. I didn't, he suddenly got sick. So I don't know. And Yuiga's like, hey, does your dad actually support what you're doing and everything? She's like, sure. Of course so. And we cut outside to Ogata and Sekiju who are talking. And Sekiju's like, how was your conference? And she's like, it was fine. My dad was annoying though, so I threw him out partway through. Like, this poor dad just constantly getting no love from his daughter.
Because he's suffocating her.
He's such a clingy dad. I just feel bad for him. He loves so much. And there's a moment then where they're interrupted.
By the way, Ogata gets the short end of everything in this chapter. No one will leave her alone.
So immediately they're kind of encountered by someone who's like, I was looking for you. And then Yuiga and Fumino show up. And we see it's the math teacher from the school that Ogata and Yuiga checked out. And
so a couple of chapters ago when this guy came up, I would never have predicted that he would even show up again, let alone what happens with him.
So the teacher is there like, it's not too late. Please reconsider. You were born to unravel the essences of mathematics, the true heart, to give a reason for why people would study Babylonian math at college grade level. You can solve this. And everyone's like, oh yeah, it's a teacher from there. And apparently this teacher has been continuously trying to follow them. And Sekiju has like, he should have at least spent 2 years just sneakily taking photos of her first. Now you're talking like, and Yuiga's like, you're talking about yourself and that's not cool. You shouldn't be taking photos of someone without their consent, even if it's your friend. That's wrong. And everybody who saw this was me like, pizza bat, Nick. There's nothing there for the pizza bat, though.
Honestly, if anything, because like then you're saying that the math teacher is romantically interested in Ogata, guys. It's equating their obsessions. Come on.
But then this is all interrupted when Fumina's like, Dad? And I like that Sekijo's like, maybe his name just sounds like Dad. And everyone's like,
let's take everything that Sekiju says at face value because clearly she understands what's going on inside of her own head.
I love the insinuation though of just like, Dad? No, his name just must sound like Dad. So that's like, the obvious response. Like she must have been stupid and said the wrong thing and it sounds like that. And her dad gets up and is like, oh right, you go to this school too.
This guy's such an asshole to his daughter.
And he gets up, and they realize that, yeah, this is Fumino's dad. He's a math professor, and everyone's a little kind of shocked by this because it's like, oh, it's a kind of big revelation. And they also note that his late wife was also a math teacher, I believe. That's the insinuation there. So it kind of gets awkward. So there's a moment where Fumino's like, I mean, I'm a bit surprised the conference is over, so I didn't expect you to come. So you did read the letter about the conferences? And he's like, no, I have no idea what you're talking about. Anyway, I have no intention of participating in conferences. There's no point discussing it. And then he grabs the letter that Fumino was carrying.
The manila folder.
Yeah, and has all of her information on it. And he looks at it, he's like, I knew it. You're still stuck with your childish dreams. You can't go into science. You don't have the slightest inkling into the heart of mathematics. You're not fit to study the field. At least you're better at literary subjects. You should do that. That's all I have to say. And he turns over and he goes back to kind of like, being super happy about Ogata. He's like, but you, with your potential, we can solve the mysteries of the cosmos. You and I together. So she grabs her, Fumino grabs her dad and is like, you guys get out of here. He loses all rationality when Matt's involved. So they head out. And Fumina's just like, you care more about your obsession with math than your own daughter's dream. And, you know, Yuiga, of course, as the ever persistent, like, mediator here is like, oh, hey guys, how about we calm down? And he's like, I'd hardly call it a dream. More like an ignorant, inept fantasy of yours. I have no intentions of paying tuition for such folly. If you refuse to respect my wishes, you're welcome to move out and do whatever you want to on your own. Shit.
Damn, that's cold.
And of course, it's she's a teenager, and as the
Fine, I was gonna do that anyway, Dad. Fuck you.
As the authority figure, you've expressed something they don't like, so their immediate response is like, "Fuck you, Dad! Fuck you and everyone you know."
Look at how short my skirt is, Dad. Fuck you.
I'm gonna leave anyway, and I'm never gonna come back. I'm gonna start doing heroin. It's like that's.
Maybe don't do that.
I'm gonna start stealing cars.
I already stole one, actually.
And I'm gonna change the Netflix password. I'm not gonna tell you what it is now.
I pay the Netflix fee, so that's not going
to
work.
I have Netflix on my phone, so I can change the password before you can.
I'll just call up Netflix support. I'm the one who pays it. You're not going to be able to access it.
Shit! Well, fuck you!
I'm not going to pay your cell phone bill either, so you're not going to be able to change the password.
That's fine. I'm going to throw my cell phone in the toilet then. He's like,
how do you like that? I'm not buying you a new one. Fuck you, Dad.
It's like, doesn't really hurt me. It's not my cell phone.
Look at me, Dad. I'm cutting up all my clothes. I'm not replacing them.
He's like, you just said you're living on your own. You have to buy your own clothes now. Like, shit. He has everything. So Yuiga tries to talk her out of it. He's like, no, what are you doing? Don't do that. She's like, don't try to stop me. I've already made up my mind. And of course, the dad's doing it's awkward because I have neighbors who are literally having this exact same argument very loudly the other day, where it's just like, fuck you, I'm going to leave. What are you going to do for money? You'll never be able to support yourself. You're just like, oh man, it is super awkward to be on the side of this conversation that's just hearing it.
And Yuiga actually cares about the people involved.
I know. So Yuiga steps in and is like, hey, how about she can stay with us for a while? And we get something that's very uncommon for We Never Learn. It doesn't end with an entire one-page panel strip at the bottom with a joke. It does kind of end with one, because it's Yuiga being like, did I just say something really weird because everyone's looking at him strange? But it's not the full strip at the bottom panel. That's We Never Learn.
I do like the expressions, the expression of the contrast of the expressions on the last page. Yuiga just says something crazy because he's trying to do something, and then we see Fumino clearly understanding what the insinuations are for what Yuiga just said, and then her dad's just like, "What the fuck should happen?" He doesn't like know how to react to this. So this is an interesting turn of events. And like I said, I never would have expected that the random ass creepy weird math teacher from Ogata and Seikujo Yuiga's college visit would turn out to be Fumino's father. I'm interested to see where this goes, and it's nice to see that we might be getting some big character development coming soon.
Absolutely. I was very, very on board with this. Very excited.
And also, her dad is just a tremendous asshole.
I love that kind of just so irredeemably shitty person too, where he's just like, I don't care about your dream. I'm not paying for your dream. At least at least get into fucking like literary subjects. You're decent at that. Like, it's not even like he praises her for that either. Like, she's supposed to be a super genius when it comes to humanities, but he's still just like, you're talented in that field. Why don't you do that nonsense?
You get the impression from a couple of lines that he says that there might be something else that he's not saying, that he does care more about what she's got going on than he's letting on. But clearly he has failed parenting classes of every sort to not be able to properly express that. So
it very likely also probably ties into the fact that the mother's passed, and there's probably some deep issues there.
It could very well be, because of the reasons the Fumi wants to get into this stuff. That's the why he's discouraging of it. So
I would assume so.
All right, we're going to move over to Dr. Stone.
Time to get stoned!
It's Z equals 80, humanity's strongest tag team. So last time, after Tsukasa got stabbed, apparently in the heart, but not in the heart. He didn't get stabbed in the heart.
Not in the lethal part of the heart, apparently.
I mean, he got stabbed in the upper chest region. So that spear apparently threaded the needle to not immediately kill him. Tsukasa is falling in the river. Senku has managed to catch up and grabs his hand to try and stop that. But, of course, Hyoga's just like, okay, and just knocks Senku into. It's like, yeah, okay. And then jumps in himself. Now, I don't understand why nobody goes after them, because clearly there are people running up. Because Senku and Tsukasa wash up on shore, and Hyoga's washed up as well. And Hyoga says that he actually tested this before. He, specifically tested the river to make sure that they would drift to a certain isolated spot, and he tested this by knocking Yo into it. So two things. One, again, why didn't anyone, try and chase after them? Did they just think it's like, well, they're in the water?
Maybe they're trying to go by shore. I guess there is a level of danger that exists in just like choosing to drift through the water.
Mm-hmm. Maybe swimming's not high on the priorities for a lot of them. Although we know, I'm sure we know that Kohaku can swim. So, yeah. Anyhow, so I also want to say in regards to this Yo thing, because we then cut over to Yo in the present and he sneezes. And I like the double play on that, because, he sneezes because of the Japanese reason. Someone's, talking about him. But also, he fell in the river previously. So it's like, oh, did he catch pneumonia?
How dark would that be? Yo dies off screen because of pneumonia that they actually had a cure for now.
Can you imagine at the end of all of this, they managed to defeat Hyoga and Homura and trap them again. They're like, wasn't there someone else who helped them out? Yeah, that Yo guy. What happened to him? And just like pans over to his corpse. There's flies buzzing over it.
For some reason, it's like his head in a toilet too.
Why is there even a toilet here?
It's been a rough day.
So Hyoga says that he wanted to speak with Senku. And Senku's like, oh, okay. Well, this is awkward. Are you confessing to me? I'm not interested in you. I do like that he actually brings up the detail. Well, I hate to break it to you, but I'm married. Well, I'm divorced. But anyway.
You know what? I'm not actually sure.
And Hyoga says, like, listen, either you're going to cooperate with me or I'll resort to torture. Okay. And he says that the reason that he was working with Tsukasa to begin was because they shared the conviction that the petrification that happened to humanity was to cull them, to thin the herd. And Senku says, like, that's ridiculous. Come on. Meanwhile, he's just actually kind of buying time, seemingly. He's got Tsukasa around the chest, and he is seemingly applying pressure to his wound. I think that's the impression of what's going on.
He's trying to save him, yeah.
Yeah. Hyoga says that, look at this, the Earth cannot support a population of 7 billion the way that we're going. And what Tsukasa sought was a utopia where nobody took from anyone else. But for me, I couldn't care less for such an idealistic fantasy, because reviving incompetent fools would eventually mean they need taken care of. They would take from us. What we need is a true culling. In this new world, only superior specimens are meant to survive.
So I'm going to gather all 6 of the Infinity Stones, and with my mighty gauntlet.
And he's like, and then with a single snap of my fingers. Shit, I can't snap.
I knew there was something I never learned how to do.
That would have been... Imagine if it been you were ended that way. And now...
Yeah, you should have aimed for the head.
Hang on. It's really hard to snap my fingers wearing a golden gauntlet.
Hold on. I mean, look, if I get it really close, you can hear it. I can't always do it.
Hang on, Thor. Hang on.
What if I clap? What if I just clapping work?
Hang on. Snap. Come on, that counts, right? Oh no!
I didn't have to snap for the other stuff I did. Why is it just this one?
Why don't I just make a fist? Oh god. So Hyoga says that this is only logical, and Senku's like, yeah, no. Well, actually, he says, sure, it's logical, but it doesn't get me excited. And he slicks his hair back and says, if the Earth can't support 7 billion, then all 7 billion of us just have to figure out a way. That's how science works. Well, not really, but I get your point.
Yeah, it's a very idealistic idea of science, but it's probably going to be only a very, very small fraction of that would actually be working towards a real solution.
So Hyoga starts menacing him with his spear. First, he cuts his wrist binding off, and says, yeah, your science is magnificent. If given enough time, I know you can create more nitric acid. But you will say yes. Because until you do, you'll keep losing fingers. And he, slices him across his pinky knuckle, and then both legs. As I said from the start, you don't really have a choice here. So basically, he's going to just, keep cutting parts of Senku off until he agrees to help him.
He's like, I mean, the only part I really need is your brain, so...
Yeah.
Rest of you is very disposable.
Yeah. So Senku, of course, realizes, well, shit, this sucks. But he glances down and sees Tsukasa's hand next to his foot make a fist. And so Senku starts picking up fucking rocks from the ground and throwing them at Hyoga. He acts like he is, desperate. They're just like, stay away, keep away from me. And Hyoga says, this is a really pathetic display after all. But one of the rocks that Senku throws suddenly turns into a bird. And it turns out that that the rocks he's throwing are petrified birds that he's poured some of the nitric acid on. So birds are just suddenly swarming Hyoga. He's like, oh God, what's happening? Suddenly I feel like weightless of a badass. Birds!
They always told me I'd be defeated by birds.
3 whole pigeons! It's somebody show that picture to a friend of yours who does not read Dr. Stone and get them to guess what the fuck is happening. This random guy with a fucking Hannibal Lecter mask being attacked by pigeons. And this is enough of a distraction for suddenly Tsukasa to come running up and smash him in the goddamn face, knocking Hyoga's mask off.
It was a non-lethal blow to the heart.
Yes. He's like, I have to pay you back for that spear thrust to the heart. He's got the fucking bloodstain right over the right side of his chest. Whatever. He's the strongest high schooler, Chris.
It's very cool.
Tsukasa not only is up and capable of fighting, but he's capable of monologuing while he does it. As he says, to see my ideals realized, I broke the promise I made with you, Senku. Because way back in chapter 4 or something like that, he promised Senku and Taiju that the two of them would never be in danger again. But despite that, he says, you kept your promise. Of course, he helped him revive Mirai. And says, now it's my turn to keep my word about the ceasefire. And this time I mean it. You'll never be in danger again. From now on, I'll do the fighting. And the two of them kind of pose together with Tsukasa standing guard in front of Senku. And Yoga's like, all right, a wounded lion and a boy who's never thrown a punch make for humanity's weakest tag team. But they're like, all right, with my size and your strength, let's do this. And this is getting exciting.
I want someone to be like, I don't know, the Clones are still technically a tag team and they're pretty weak.
They are still employed.
Is there a new how long has JTG been employed that now just runs for the Clones?
It's got to be them. Because I can't think of a single person that, has not shown up on television for as long as they have for no reason. Oh, God. That's it. That's the chapter. Senku and Tsukasa on the same side again for the first time in a year and a half. So there we go.
Yeah, no, I'm very excited for it. It's like a cool thing. It is really frustrating that the dude took a spear to the heart, and the series that tries to be very scientific. Thus far, no explanation has been given as to why he's not dead. Maybe they'll explain next chapter that when Senku was holding that wound, he poured miracle juice in it, and that fixed him. Something like that will at least give me a reason to be like, okay. But if they don't give any reason, it is definitely going to be like, so, I mean, how did he survive a fucking spear to the heart? I get it. He's a strong guy. He beats up lions. But I mean, there's still the logic. They still threw the logic out there that if they threw dynamite, everyone's like, oh, I don't want to get blown up by dynamite because that would kill me or something like that. So I have to also understand the logic. It's like, I hope I don't get stabbed in the heart because that would be bad for me.
Yeah. Oh, you know, pneumonia, falling down a pit, dynamite. Yeah, sure, but stabbed in the heart. Come on, walk it off.
Oh, yeah, come on. It's fine.
like the old man from the space expedition. It's like, oh, come on! All you did was get stabbed in the heart. Come on, be tough, guys. Don't give up now.
I had to take a mildly cold shower today as I used the last of the hot water. And you don't hear me bitching. They're like, yeah, because we're all bitching at you. You took the last of the hot water to take a shower. We told you we were rationing it.
He's completely unaware of all the inconvenience he causes people.
He's like, I'm sorry that we can't all have food. I wanted to see what happened when you put his floppy disk into a microwave.
You blew it up.
Well, it smelled like burnt floppy disk afterwards. No one's gonna want to eat that. I hated smelling it. All right.
Oh, God.
Let's talk about the 7 deadly sins, Nick. Chapter 287, The Prince of Darkness. And it's somewhat amusing to me that in a chapter title that is so edgelord, it's not a very edgelordy chapter. It's actually a bit more optimistic and comedic for a large part of it. Last time we had that big showdown, Ludashel and Zeldris finally was like, you're gonna get the full taste of what I can deliver. You're not gonna be able to take it. So we finally get a revelation as to what it was that evil Melodius whispered into Zeldris' ear that while back. And what it is that Gelda's alive. And he explains that 12 years ago, she awoke from her seal and fell into such despair of her fate with you that she chose death and almost succeeded. So I sealed her up once more for until the right time. So the implication seems to be that she's sealed up, and that's kind of what's being held over Zeldris' head, and that's why Zeldris is so willing to be like, yeah, I'll make you the next Demon Lord, whatever, etc., etc. Because
so many dudes like being separated from their girlfriends in this series, man.
It's tough times for a lot of like relationships. One half of you ends up trapped in the void of time and space or some shit like that. So Ludashel is pretty cocky, actually. She's like, we goddesses will be the victor in this holy war. And Zeldris is like, ominous nebula. And Ludashel is giving no fucks as her hair starts to like flip forward. And then all of it starts to get sucked into her attention.
Oh, yeah, this is really intimidating. Where he's like, oh, God!
And I love this because he like sucks them in, then blows them back. And every character is ass overhead in the most undignified position. Like, it's not like a cool, like, oh, we're getting knocked. Like, everyone's like, oh, shit! Fuck!
And then he starts to pull them back in, and everyone's like, ah!
Yeah, like, he just keeps pulling them back in and forward and like, causing these explosions then, and it's really kind of fucking with everybody. We have this moment where, like, he starts sucking them in, and it's like Ludashel, like, slamming her sword to the ground, just like, ah! No!
The most undignified position.
Yeah. And they look back, and they see that, Hendrickson.
Well, before we move on, I want to note that fucking Escanor takes care of this problem in the most badass way. He just digs his feet in and sinks to his knees in the ground. He's like, okay, I'm fine.
Yeah, I'm a tree now. And they notice that Hendrickson is flying, and they're like, oh no. And they're like, hey, those two are fine. And it's Merlin. And they're like, huh, how are you doing it? And they're like, oh, Merlin just keeps teleporting backwards every so often, and she could just keep doing that because she has unlimited magic.
Just bullshit.
I fucking love it. It's such a great way. She's like, I just teleport backwards every so often. But they're like, yeah, well, she can't do that forever. Well, she can, but it won't do anything. Eventually they're gonna do something. We'll fight the rest of them. So Ludashell's like, you're such a handful to take care of. So if you want me so bad, I'll come right at you. And she charges forward. just sends her flying backwards. And it's just a shot of her like in a wall, like, ow. Oh no. Getting pulled back in. And so she lands on Escanar's back. And he's like, what are you doing?
Go away.
And she's like, I didn't land on your back on purpose. And they're kind of bickering back and forth. So Ludashell asks Merlin, like, what's up with his magic? And they're like, okay, so the way it works is there's kind of 3 attributes to his ability. One is it creates this force field with a powerful suction ability. It only works on living things, but all of our physical attacks can't reach him, and we're being assaulted by an unknown attack. And in addition, we used some attacks and didn't hit him at all, so he must have some magical like protection as well, something that's blocking him that way. So neither magic nor physical attacks hurt him, and he's just blowing us back and forth all the time. So I don't know. This is gonna be kind of a tough fight. So Ludashell's like, Escanar, assist me. He's like, no. And I love his like mustache just floating away too. Like it's just flying off his face, and he's just like, no. And she's like, what? He's like, yeah, I don't know. You're pretty stuck up if you could boss me around. And she's like, what do you do? He's like, I'm the Lionson of Pride. Remember?
No, hang on. You gotta say it right. It was like, I am the great Lionson of Pride, Escanor, remember?
And she's just like, I'm the leader of the 4 goddesses. Do as I tell you. He's like, no. You might as well just be picking his nose while it happens. And then I have to say,
I wish that Pride had been around a little bit more often so that we could see this aspect of his character come up more. Because you would think with his general attitude about things that this would be happening all the time when he gets into combat. When someone asks him to cooperate, he's just like, I don't feel like it. Fuck you. He's such a prideful asshole. But this is like the first time I can remember him actually acting this way because, he hasn't been in the entire series. So
yeah. I do just love, though, that he's just like, no. And then Ludashell flies off of him again. And Merlin's like, please be helpful. And he's like, okay. And grabs her. And he's just like, I thought you didn't listen to other people. He's like, Merlin's a special case. I have the hots for her. So the chapter ends with the full page spread of Escanar kind of holding Ludashell. And again, I just love the fact that like you just see like their hair and everything flying towards it. Like even in a moment where it's not like a big deal, you just see that constant vacuum effect happening. And he's like, so you have a good strategy in mind? Because if not, I'll slug you. And she's like, yes, provided you follow my instructions. She's like, it's an interesting tag team right here. And I'm pretty excited by it. So I like this chapter. I don't know why. It's such a funny chapter to me. I don't know if it's all intended to be as hysterical as it is. But I just love how ungraceful the archangel leader, the greatest Ludashell is, and like every shot is her just ass overhead or getting slammed into a wall, just as ungraceful as humanly possible.
Yeah. It was really satisfying to see her kind of get her shit pushed in a bit during this chapter. Oh man. Yeah, this was fun. I do like that she's like, all right, if she's pulling me towards him, then I'll just go at him. Yeah, oh fuck.
Yeah, like, all right, you want to bring the fight to me? And this next shot is her against him, like, ow, fuck.
Oh man. All right. Okay, move on now to the Promised Neverland, chapter 109. Keep going with a special Halloween color spread at the start of it. I do really like that, a bunch of the kids are zombified and you can see them attacking the group sent to kill them all, swarming them and eating them. A nice little twist there.
Also, the Gracefield house is on the moon.
Yeah. So we first start off with Emma's company, who have made it to safety. They take up residence in the underground cavern beneath the trees that they first went through when they escaped from Gracefield. And Ray takes charge of everyone and says, like, we're going to live here for a little while. This is my room. Good luck to all of you.
No one, everyone get out of my room. So, like, it's a cave, Ray. We're all always going to be technically in your room.
He starts putting up signs that says, do not enter Ray's room. Get the fuck out.
Like Pink Floyd posters, despite not listening to Pink Floyd, which is something I found out my brother used to do when he was younger.
We'll put up posters, but not listen to them.
Yeah, like, I was always like, there's that Pink Floyd album that's like the two metalheads facing each other. And I always assumed that my brother listened to them and just on a recent Super Hilarious, but then she's like, nah, I never. I just bought the poster because it looked cool.
I can understand, like, if you have a Dark Side of the Moon poster and, you don't listen to them because that's just such an iconic visual. But, yeah, and pretty much any others, like, well, you just have a Pink Floyd poster and don't listen to them.
Yeah.
Ray tells everyone to go the fuck to sleep. And Emma is kind of keeping watch over people. And is particularly Chris, the little kid who was actually shot.
Me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were shot.
I'm gonna die.
Yay. And of course she's worried about Lucas and Hugo. And she thinks that if something happened to them, that it's going to all be her fault. And she blames herself for everything that has happened to the group recently since Andrew and everyone attacked them. And she thinks, also that she's just really scared of what's going to happen next. And then all of a sudden, she looks up and sees Hugo there, and he's fine. And she's like, "You made it. Where's Lucas?" And Hugo's like, "I ate him." He says, "He's fine. Don't worry about him." And he says, "Is everyone okay?" And then they start talking because she says, like, "Oh, the bullet grazed him, and Zach stopped the bleeding." And Hugo says, "Emma, look, it's not your fault." She thinks, to herself, the decisions that she's been making recently, like, if I hadn't let them go ahead, if I hadn't looked away, then this wouldn't have happened. If I had been more aware of stuff that was going on, I could have actually prevented this from happening. And Hugo just says, "Hey, do you remember what I said before? Is your decision correct?" Pondering that, like, I was wrong. Yes, it's important to make the correct decision, or at least try to, but that's not everything, because none of us know if our decision is right or wrong in the moment. That's why what's important is after the decision, the effort to make the decision that you made correct. Even if the decision you made brings unfavorable results, what can you do from there? The struggle is what's important. And if decisions are everything, then life is just one big gamble. Believe in what you've decided, and no matter what results from it, keep going. Then you and everyone will be able to change the world. And then Emma's like, "Wait, why are you telling me this? You're going to be with us, right? You're going to change the world with us." And Hugo just says, "Sorry." And Emma realizes, oh, I'm dreaming. Because, of course, yeah, Hugo did not make it out of that massive explosion that he and Lucas set off.
She is fucked up by that, though. Like, that is a face of fucking, like, God, no.
That middle of the page expression she's making with the bleary eyes, yeah. So how she's actually, whether or not that ring of her conscience is going to hold her together remains to be seen, because the rest of the chapter is actually from Yugo's perspective, especially cutting back to not so much his past, but his immediate past, basically right before Emma and company arrived. And basically we see him, coming home from wandering the wastes, gathering stuff one day. And he, just thinks to himself, I'm still alone. Every day is the same. I don't know what's going on. And he comes into the dining room, and for a brief moment, he sees all of his family there waiting for him. And then the room is empty. And he just thinks, like, I don't get it. Why am I still alive? But then he remembers people telling him, you have to live. And he just tries to repeat them to himself. I have to live. I have to live. I have to live. But he thinks to himself, if we hadn't gone to Goldie Pond at that time, then I would have been having a party with you guys. We would have been eating these cookies together. So please forgive me. I have to go to your side. And he takes a pistol out, apparently having taken it from the old man in the Food Wars chapter.
I was going to say, this was a week of Jump with a lot of implied almost suicides.
Yeah. He actually does pull the trigger, but it misfires. And right at that moment is when Emma and everyone enter the facility. And he thinks to himself, because I didn't die that time, I was able to meet you and see Lucas again. I avenged my family. I destroyed that hunting ground. I found hope. This past year and a half was so much fun. I'm glad I lived, but damn it, I don't want to die. And he just thinks that, he's dying with regrets now because of this. But if I can protect them, I can die smiling. Fulfill your dream. Good luck, Emma. And that's when we kind of catch up with what happened at the end of the last chapter, the explosion being set off. And Emma rushes outside from where they're hiding, and she sees, the smoke trail of the explosion. And then we cut to the afterlife, apparently. Lucas and Hugo arrive there. Lucas has his arm back, and they see all of the kids and their family waiting for them. And Hugo says, I'm sorry, I came here earlier than I thought. And Dinah says, it's okay. You did your best, Hugo.
So pretty emotionally heavy chapter, kind of made when you see the opening chapter, you're like, yeah, get Andrew, all you zombie kids. Let's show them spooky Halloween. And you're like, oh, he's dead, and everyone's very, very sad about this. You're like, this is a lot heavier than I was expecting. And it did it well. I still think there could have maybe been better pacing with how Andrew actually died, but this was the right way to write it, to give more context to it, to just put in there how much Emma and all the kids meant to him. And I do like that notion too, where he's like, I really want to live because I want to see you kids get older, and I want to see the human world, but I'm okay with this because this saves all of you, so I'm okay. And it's a very sweet sentiment. I like that.
I actually had a weird negative reaction to this chapter.
Okay.
I think the chapter is quite good on its own, but it drove home something for me, which is that the Promised Neverland doesn't have a whole lot of characters that I would actually care if they died in it, despite its premise. All those kids in Emma's family, and if Chris had died, oh well, it really, doesn't kind of carry the same weight to it that at the beginning of the series where, every single person was so important to Emma. And, it's like, well, we lost two people. What were their names, Emma?
Yeah, we still haven't actually heard what those characters' names are. So that's a pretty frustrating situation.
So even Lucas dying is that doesn't make a big deal to me. It doesn't feel important that this happened, despite the fact that it feels so important to Emma. So there's just that, difference there that I'm not empathizing as much with her. I am upset that Hugo's dead. He was one of the few characters that I did care, about their fate. But outside of him, there's Emma, Ray, Isabel, Phil, count them on one hand. Even if Don and Gilda died, I'm like, okay. So I think that it's one of those things where the cast has been stretched out a little bit too thin with the introduction of all these characters, and they just don't feel as important to me as they do to Emma. So,
yeah. All right. Let's move on to Black Clover then, page 179, Battle for the Royal Chamber. So we open this chapter in the Vermilion Residence. If you remember, the various members split up into groups of 3 and headed on their own ways. And the one group was Mimosa, Kirsch, and N. And I am stunned I remembered all 3 of those characters' names. In fact, I am very proud of myself for that. So we see that Kirsch is using, basically they're all using a combination of all the different magics to make it so none of the bad guys can see what's happening, and it can help that the innocent people who are inside, the servants and everything, are guided out that way. Like, N's mushrooms are weakening everybody. The cherry blossoms are concealing them, and Mimosa's is using her magic to guide people out. So it's a very effective team for evacuations. They're like, yeah, we're doing it. And then some guy, I don't know who he is. Most of these characters don't have names at this exact moment here. I think this guy actually does give himself a name at some point. I don't care. He shows up and he's just like, hey, what's up? And they're like, how did he find us? Yeah, he says he's Baval. So they're like, whoa, how did this guy find us? And he's like, oh, come on. No point in squaring off to fight right away. Let's have a chat. Come on. I've been resurrected. Kind of want to talk to people, have some fun. What's going on? What kind of music you guys listening to? And he's just like, yeah, I mean, you kind of had to realize, like, all this powerful magic coming here, something's going to happen. And there's even more strong magic right over there. So, take it easy and just give up. I mean, I'm amazing, but the other guys, who knows? Yeah. So, man, it does take me back. Can't wait to see everybody.
I love this guy. He's like, this is basically the Askanaklevar of the elves. So
he's just like, what do we, like, I mean, yeah, I'm going to kill you. Like, it's going to happen. Just give up, though. And, like, anyway. Let's just have fun. Yeah, come on, guys. Let's not make a thing out of this. So he's like, yeah, the king's tenacious and everything, but we'll see. And he's even thinking, like, if he uses that particular magic to kill, then even survival is not possible. We cut over to the king's throne room as one of his mages just gets fucking erased. Like, the mage protects himself with, like, a bubble, but the entire ground is eviscerated, and it looks like something else even gets him. Like, there's this black, goopy magic kind of overfalling him. Man, it's just his clothes ripping off as, like, space-time is ripped apart. Yeah. But that dude's probably dead. And if not, he's very fucked up because he's just about to fall into a giant hole. And the queen is like, Langris, darling, what are you doing? And the king's like, you see, I can't do that voice. I have so much more I have to do later.
You have to do one line of his, I think.
I'll do it later. Do it or something, because I can't fucking do this voice the entire time. I'm gonna have a rough row at the end of this. And the queen's like, yeah, that's right. Our Langris would never do something this idiotic. It must be some kind of mistake. And the king's like, where are the other knights? What is Julius doing? He dead, brah. And he's like, very well, I'll show you my own magic.
Light magic! Absolute welcome to my brilliance!
And there's a giant light visage of him, and he's like, what do you think of this godlike spell? Grovel before my authority. And he's just like, no!
Okay. I pray to God that, like, this is the only thing that spell of his does.
I was gonna say, I was like, does it do anything? Or
it just summons an image of himself holding a scepter, and then it just stands there.
And it's just like, your move! And they start attacking him. He's like, no! What about my spell?
How do you think of that? I summon my 1,000 eyes idol in attack mode!
Like, it's somewhat significant. Like, the king has light magic. They established, like, that's a really powerful magic. And I love that his is the most worthless, pompous, showy magic humanly possible. He's like, no, what peasant? Grovel before me! And immediately I was like, so he's like, oh no! And Langris's like, I'm gonna kill you fast. Oh no, I won't kill you fast. I'm gonna start with your legs.
A lot of torture in this week too.
Yeah, it's a lot of this. And then the woman who I believe is the love interest, not love interest for Langris, but the one who is betrothed to him. There was a whole thing with Findrel as well.
I think she was supposed to be betrothed to Finral. I can't remember.
It's something like that. There was some.
She's intertwined romantically with both of them.
Yeah. So she's like, please don't do this. If you do, both you and the precious one, the one precious to you, will end up grieving. And he's like, fuck off. And he throws her. And he's like, ah. And he goes to, I think, just eviscerate her from reality, when it's blocked by Finral, who shows up and uses his magic to block it. And he grabs her and he's like, I'm your older brother. And this whole thing, he's like, oh, what are you doing here, Miss Finnis? Why are you here? And I don't know. I don't know which one it is, but one of the other ones, like, immediately cockblock. He's like, "Hey, Fenrir, you big stupid loser! Stop trying to look cool."
It's probably Yami.
Almost assuredly. I like Great Bob in the chat. Lady McLady face is like, and they have their big cocky thing where he's just like, we laid out every shiny person in this castle except for you. Probably go quicker if. Hold on, it's really small and I don't have my glasses on, so I had to read it. But they both have stupid insults for each other. If tall and scrawny over here had gotten serious, it would have gone better. And again, Jack the Ripper is like, you're the one who kept dragging your feet.
The heroic Jack the Ripper.
It just always amuses me that, like, a real life serial killer is just used and he's like, isn't he cool? It's like, he murdered so many women. So there's a big thing, and they're going to attack. Fenrir uses his magic to like teleport them super close, but like they get like buffeted away. Like Jack's sword gets erased, and Yami's like cigarette gets erased, and they're like, "Holy shit!" And Fenrir or Langris, whatever name he's going by now, is like, "Sorry, but my magic automatically attacks anyone who attacks me at this point." So that's the situation they're in. He's Gara, but instead of sand, it's space-time.
Pretty much, yes.
So how do you get past that? Hope somebody with negation magic doesn't show up to be an immediate counter to that.
Oh, God.
But we also have somebody who can also just use his own magic of the same type to potentially circumvent it. That's a more interesting scenario. Hopefully that's the one they go with, and Asta doesn't show up to be like, now your powers are worthless. Get them, boys. I feel like there should be running bets for how often that's the solution to problems. But that's the chapter.
Yeah. Honestly, like, I am upset that Annalise is not here because this is such a great little Finral moment. She would have freaked out so much over Finral getting to look cool. I'm upset that she's not here. This is a pretty good chapter overall, honestly. It starts off a little bit slow, but then the king using his stupid fucking spell happens. And I do actually really like this Baval character, the elf who was possessed, David, apparently, because, hey, he's an elf with an actual personality. Hooray.
Nick, the important question is, when are we going to get back and find out what happened to Benjamin Ben Funk? He got possessed. We need to know.
I don't know. All right. We are going to move on then to One Piece. Chapter 922, Supreme Commander Kaido of the Animal Kingdom Pirates. Last time we found out that Kaido turned into a dragon. No big deal. Mm-hmm. This giant fucking Shenron looking dragon.
That's just what he is.
Yeah. Everyone is just kind of reacting to this at first, and Momonosuke in his dragon form goes, "Oh!" And Kinemon goes, "Ah!" And I don't really know what this is. It might be that Momonosuke is upset that he takes the same form as Kaido. It might be that Kaido just looks scary. I don't really know what the fuck it is exactly. Maybe it's because Kaido killed his family, basically.
I'm sure there's a level of that, like maybe it's just the trauma of seeing him, but I wonder also if there's some element of if you have a smile fruit replicated off of what the actual one is, if there's some element to that maybe plays into it. That's
it's because Kaido is the alpha, like established in How to Train Your Dragon 2.
Yeah, exactly. I haven't watched any.
Yeah.
Yes.
So everyone's wondering what the hell is going on here. But Law says, like, oh, it's probably because Zoro and Straw Hat and I blew our cover over there. And Chopper says, it must be Luffy's fault. Sorry. But Law says, listen, our cover is not completely blown. You know, they just know that we're here. They don't know that all of the Straw Hats are here. And they kind of recap a little bit of information. Meanwhile, Luffy has run off to go and confront Kaido because he's a big jerk. And that's what Luffy does when there's a big jerk around. He goes to punch it in the face. So Law just says, no one else go after him. I'll go. That way we won't blow our cover anymore since I'm already, out here. So Straw has gotten involved with people here, and if he starts acting out of emotion, it's going to affect the plan. So, look, let's just control ourselves. Don't show yourselves in public. And he immediately teleports himself away using his devil fruit and like switches places with a distant rock, which is a really cool little utilization of his abilities. Like, I'm just going to switch these two, and teleport. Meanwhile, in Bakura Town, everyone's like, "Oh shit, Kaido's here! Why?" So
very dangerous.
Everyone looking up at him and saying, "Oh fuck, run away!" And then Kaido says, "Oh, Shuten Maru, I remember you." Anyway, he suddenly acts drunk.
He's like, well, past is the past. It's worth me. I'll work for you, but you work for me. Baby.
He's just saying all this stuff while Shuten Maru's running the fuck away.
I think he's just like casually floating behind him. He's just like, "Bye. I like your shirt. Where'd you get that? I mean, I see a couple stores, malls, but it's."
And throws up a fireball.
It just vomits on the house. He's like, I'm saying, like, have you seen like at World's End? Like, it's not as good as Shaun of the Dead, but it's still pretty good.
Some good moments in it,
It's solid, like it improves like on a technical scale. I don't know if it's as funny as it, which is kind of what I wanted.
Where'd you go, bro?
Oh, he's gone, man. I talked about movies again, didn't I?
I do like that. It doesn't matter that he can turn into a massive scary dragon. Oda will still make a villain have comedic moments. So Jack, of course, is like, "Kaido, are you drunk?" "No, I'm not drunk."
He's like, hold on, is Smirnoff booze? Because I've been eating trucks of Smirnoff.
You've been eating it? Well, yeah, it doesn't taste good enough to drink it.
No, man, you gotta pair it up with something, though. So I ate a fry truck, too. I ate like a bunch of fries and some Smirnoff, and I'm here.
Oh, gosh. So Luffy is racing towards Kaido. Law catches up with him because he can teleport, apparently. And Okiku and Kinemon are apparently chasing after them as well, because they're like the only ones who can actually show themselves in public, I guess. Basil runs up to Kaido and says, "Hey, Luffy and Law are over at the ruins of Odin Castle." And Jack's like, "Is that true?" And Kaido's like, "Oh," and just starts wandering off. And Hawkins says, "No, I lied so that he would direct his anger over there." I mean,
Castle,
maybe.
I haven't watched The Seven Samurai in forever. It's pretty good if I remember it.
Is Castle still on? Nathan Fillion's doing a new show, but he could do two shows.
He's so talented and versatile. You know who else is really good? David Borealis. Like, people think of him as Bones, but to me, he's always Angel. He just blows up the castle. And he's like, I think he's like a Marine or something now. I'm not as into that, but old ladies gotta have something to jerk off to too. So.
Do ladies jerk off?
Oh, Moa. Do ladies not pee out of their vagina? I got conflicting reports on that.
How many holes are down there?
It's like just like Swiss cheese. I don't. Everyone's like, Kaido. He's so terrifying. No one wants to correct him.
He's got such outdated views of women.
I'm just saying I shouldn't be able to do anything. I'm just saying if I'm going in to get my car fixed, I want a guy doing it.
I don't want to do it. I'm sure a woman could learn how to do it just as good as a guy, but you don't want her to be under the hood and then suddenly it's her time of the month and oops.
I'm not sexist. This is it's the same thing. Like if you go in a bakery and a guy's there, you're like, ugh.
The dough might make him horny and then he'll want to stick his dick in it.
Yeah, I've been there. We all had those moments. Everyone's like, oh yeah, totally, Kaido.
Hey, come on, have you ever been in a bakery? It's like, I bake my own bread sometimes. It's a fun hobby. But sometimes the dough just gives you the fuck me eyes. And then it's like, oh, okay. And then you put your, next thing I know, I fucked a loaf of bread.
It's just one of those things. You're in the bakery, he said, she said, and then you fucked a loaf of pumpernickel. It's not wrong. It's kind of good. Am I right, guys? Again, everyone's like, yeah, Kaido, man, you got it.
Oh, yeah.
The pumpernickel, right?
Anyway. So this also, of course, allows Shutenmaru to get the fuck away. Although he also hears about, I was like, what? He's going towards Odin Castle. Also, he fucks bread. What is that? And Kaido just fucking launches a breath weapon at the castle and blows it the hell up. Just like without hesitation or mercy. It's exploded now. And Luffy is really pissed off by this because he thinks that his crew are, near there and will have gotten killed by it. So immediately Luffy vanishes from beside Law, leaps above Kaido, and launches his elephant gun at the top of his head. And it gives you a really good idea of just the scale of what's going on here, because Kaido is fucking huge. His eyeballs are bigger than Luffy is. But somehow that shot of them together just is so comedic. It's just like it's like Kaido's got this goofy grin in his face and he's suddenly had his head deflated by this punch. It's such a weird picture.
He's like, they say Kirby yarn is for kids, but I found it pretty hard. It's pretty tough.
He doesn't even know that he's been punched in the head.
He's just like, am I bleeding?
Oh, why is the ground getting bigger all of a sudden? Oh!
I love this. This is such a crazy end, of a chapter, because they set these things up a lot of, Luffy, you can't fight this guy, they're too strong. And we kind of had this a lot.
I'll punch him!
We had this a lot with Big Mom, where it was just don't fight Big Mom. She's too strong. There was a whole deal there where they were like, we got to run away. We can't do this. And that's what they were building up here. They're like, Kaido's too strong. We got to build up our forces. We got to do all this. And then it's like the first chance Luffy has to encounter him, he gets really pissed off because he thinks his crew's dead, and he just fucking smashes Kaido. And I'm like, shit, that's how you end a chapter. I have to find out what happens next week. I have no idea what they do from here. There's no way they do the Kaido versus Luffy fight now. There's so much to get to. So it's crazy. It's what a really just solid way to end that chapter.
You imagine Shanks is gonna show up and reunite with Luffy, and Luffy's just gonna punch him in the head. Bam! punch every one of the Yonko that he meets. This was a fun chapter.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, that's gonna do it, everyone.
Yeah, nothing left to talk about. Let's head on home.
Yeah, favorite chapter of this week, Chris. What do you got?
I'm gonna have to give it to We Never Learn now.
All right. Yeah.
All right. Let's actually talk about the real
World Trigger's back.
Yeah, World Trigger's back, everybody.
World Trigger.
World Trigger. I forgot. The chapter title is Osama Mikomo Part 16. I fucking love World Trigger because it came back and did not change a fucking thing. The artistry is a little bit better, but it's not we're back in the magazine, guys. Let's go for our big debut. I know last time we stopped, we were about to start something, but
you remember what World Trigger fights were like? Yeah, they were so cool. It was like, okay, time for a bunch of talking and analysis. All right, that happened a lot in World Trigger.
It's just we're back in the magazine. Do we want to do anything even remotely exciting? They're no, let's talk and strategize for an upcoming matchup for the entire chapter. Boom.
Honestly, though, real talk, if there's one silver lining to this whole long hiatus that Ashihara was on, it is that it happened at the right time.
Oh, yeah.
Because this is, happening right when Tamako Matuma is going through this new beginning, And right before a big matchup, so we get to do what World Trigger does and cut around to all of the people who are involved, the people not just competing in it, but overseeing it, watching it, commentating on it. And you get reintroduced to like 30 characters in this one chapter as you get back into it. And it really gets you ready. It's like, oh, right, okay, this is where who everyone is. And now I'm ready for the chaos that will ensue next chapter. So good stuff. To begin with, so it's time for Tamakoma 2 to have their next Rank Wars battle. The first one the Hughes will be participating in. And Shirohi's like, are you nervous? And Hughes like, what? Who do you think you're talking to? We're going to fucking win. I love that, then like Yuma's like, yeah, we're ready to go win. And Yotaro just says, and I'll be watching from here. Thanks, Yotaro. Good to know you'll be contributing. Everyone looks psyched. Supposedly Chika is raring to go, but she says like nothing in this chapter. So
hey, I mean, she's gonna do what she's gonna do.
She's gonna be facing. Osamu, however, is clearly a little bit nervous, and Jin says, hey, what's going on? What's wrong? And Osamu says, I don't really get it myself, but I just can't shake this uneasy feeling. Like, I've made the wrong choice at some point without realizing it, and now I'm worried. And I don't think I've ever felt Osamu more connected to him ever before than that feeling. Just like, I forgot to do something. What was it? Damn it, I don't know. Now it's bothering me. But Jin gives him basically a much briefer version of the pep talk that imaginary Yugo gave to Emma, which is just like, hey, listen, don't waver. Anyway, good luck. That's it. It's time for the Rank Wars, which means it's time for a new commentary team, Chris. Man. WWE's had like 5 different commentary teams come and go since we last had World Trigger to have a world commentary team. Yuitsuka from Katagiri Squad is the main play-by-play person. I don't think we've really gotten anything from her up until this point, but apparently she has a bit of an established relationship with Ninomiya Squad's Inukai. Ninomiya Squad is good.
Yes.
That's their thing.
I'm trying to even remember Katagiri's group, and it's not immediately coming to me. This is one of the A ranks we haven't learned much about, I guess. Like, I'm trying to see if... I'm on the World Trigger Wiki, and it looks as though... Yeah, we've never actually seen Katagiri before. It looks like maybe there was a shot of him in an anime, but not actually shown up in the manga yet.
Yeah. And this is the first time that we're actually really getting anything about Yuitsuka's personality at all. She has a little bit of a banter with Inukai, who is just such a weird thing, actually, because Yuitsuka has apparently been scouting for new recruits. And so Inukai's like, did you find any hot dudes? And Yuitsuka says, well, we've been recruiting for middle schoolers, so using the term hot dudes is a weird way to put it. And Inukai's like, sounds like you were on the hunt. Like, what? Prowling through middle schools looking for dudes to pick up. Like, okay, dude.
Hey, everyone hates Ninomiya Squad. Except me. I love him. Go Ninomiya.
Also, Arashiyama's there. Hi, Arashiyama. It's been forever, almost literally. Of course, a lot of the kerfuffle surrounding this rank war is that, yeah, Tamakoma 2's got a new guy on their team, which freaks out... God, how do you even say this name? Because I want to say his last name, but whatever. Noboru from Azuma Squad is like, they've got a new guy? Can they do that? It's like, yes.
Why would you assume they couldn't?
What? I do also like that their operator says, like, well, it's nothing we wouldn't try if we wanted to. We can do that! But Azuma takes a really good attitude about it, which is just like, hey, you know, gaining experience dealing with the unexpected is part of the point of rank wars. So, yeah, good stuff. I also like the
old Azuma always fucking with the sage advice.
Yeah. I also like that and Kageura is surprised by the news, but instead of being like, they could do that, he's just like, they got a new guy, what the fuck?
Someone explain how this works.
Well, they've got a new fighter. Explain better! And fucking Yuzuru is just like the most Hitsugaya I've ever seen, in which it's just like, even up against an army, we will win. And then there is Suzunari's squad there. Kuruma says like, they've got a new member. Okay. And then their operator, Yuka, says, well, you never faced this opponent, Ko, so are you going to be okay? And Murakami's like, well, I don't know. I won't know until I fight him. And then Taichi's like, I've got a dumb hat. I've still got a dumb hat. Look at me and my dumb hat. I so wish Annalise was here.
Forgot how much you hated his hat.
His stupid hat. It's fucking 80 degrees in here, Taichi. You don't need a fucking hat.
It's my personality. Without this, I'm nothing.
Look at my hat. It's like fucking Starburns from Community, and he hated being associated with his Starburns because he was like, I am a real person. I have a personality. So he started wearing a top hat in order to distract from his Starburns, and then that didn't work. So he started coming to class with an iguana on his shoulder. He's like, stop paying attention to my Starburns. Acknowledge who I am as a person. It was just by adding more accessories. And then he killed himself because the meth lab in his truck exploded, but he didn't really die.
Good times.
Community is a weird show. So, it's revealed that Suzunari has picked the map, which is Cityscape D. And basically the entire rest of the chapter is everyone explaining, like, this is how this cityscape will affect our strategy.
I fucking love World Trigger. It came back and spent, like, 7 of its return pages being like, here's how a building works.
Do you think that, like, you know, in the months where, you know, in the months where Ashihara Sensei was injured, recovering, sitting in his bed, occasionally, you know, it's like, I can't just ignore my manga. I've got to look back, and I want it to be the best it can be when I come back. And he looks at, you know, the name for the next chapter, and he's like, perfect. Every 30 days, like, he comes back to it. He's like, is there any way I could prove this? No, this is beautiful, and puts it away.
Should I have them talk about the building more? No.
But not one iota less.
I just love the notion that every so often he's like the Leonardo da Vinci who looks at it, he's like, no, this is perfect. And then he folds up his manuscript again, and he goes back to laying down in bed.
Like, he goes back, he's like, I can't I can't just sit here and do nothing. I know that the doctor tells me that I need to just ignore my manga. It's bad for my health, but I need to look at it. And then he like picks it up and, perfect, and puts it away and goes to bed and has the most restful sleep of anyone in the world. He's
like, yes, all their commentary is very on point. The fans will love it.
like lullaby music plays from a music box automatically as he goes to bed. It's just the most peaceful, wonderful sleep anyone has ever had in existence because he's so happy with how the chapter is going to be when he comes back. Oh, I love it. There's tall buildings in Cityscape D, okay?
Tall vertical buildings, yep.
There's a lot of tall buildings, and so everyone has to strategize and analyze how this is going to affect them. And everyone points out, so giant fucking buildings. How is this going to disrupt them? You know, Azuma is a sniper, and he shot Osamu through a wall in the previous fight. Suzunari's got a sniper of their own. So why are they choosing an anti-sniper map? Why did they do this? What the hell do they have in mind? And finally, to wrap things up, you know, after, you know, we had one last comment of like, maybe they're just trying, you know, to shut down Azuma and Yuzuru, and also Chika is you know, pretty fearsome. He just says like, we don't have a lot of time, Osamu. If you really are a commander, then command. And Osamu says, okay, here's what we'll do.
He's so good, Nick. He's like, yeah, here's what we do. So this is like a chapter with almost nothing to dissect because it's all text within the chapter, essentially, of everyone describing.
There is no deeper analysis necessary for this chapter. It is all right there for you to consume immediately.
And I love it. Like, there's just something about World Trigger. And the fact that when it came back, it almost is like a perfect representation of World Trigger, that it's like, yeah, I know there's these other things I should do, but I just like my own pacing. That when Ashihara came back, he's like, yeah, no, the chapter where they talk about buildings. It's the one we're going with. And at some point, like, his editor was like, are you sure? And he drew one of the female characters with a slightly larger bust, and he's like, okay.
You think that, like... Because the editor looked over stuff, was like, all right, Ashihara Sensei, we want you to make a big impact. So, you didn't throw away the building thing. Yeah, I put in a female commentator. She's got big boobs. Okay, you're good.
They're like, nailed it.
Print it.
Welcome back.
You haven't lost your touch at all. This will be your finest chapter yet.
And I want to stress, I legitimately 100% love this chapter for that reason. Not ironically love it. I fucking love that that's what Ashihara came back with, was something that was so intrinsically World Trigger.
I am so happy with this chapter because it's like hearing from an old friend again.
Yeah.
You know the kind of friend that, like, you know, when you're around them, occasionally you get the thought of, like, actually this guy is just kind of weird and eccentric, but you realize then it's like, well, yeah, but I like him and that's why I hang out with him. You know, you're aware it's like, okay, this guy's kind of weird, and then if you've been away from them for a while, then suddenly you reunite and they're like, I actually really missed this fucking weirdo. I missed this. This is what I love about them. So yeah. I don't know if this is what I would have asked for from World Trigger, but now that I've experienced, it's like, oh my god, welcome back, friend.
Welcome back, my old buddy.
With that said, Chris, it's time to call this edition of Weekly Manga Recap to a close. We're gonna have more World Trigger next week and every week until like December or something like that, when it goes monthly. So I'm super excited for this new chapter, metaphorically speaking, in World Trigger. So, but to wrap things up for this time, what were our favorites for this week? Favorite series and MVP.
I mean, I can't not do it. My favorite series this week is going to go to World Trigger. Welcome back. It's great to have you back. There were so many good chapters, but fuck it. I'm so happy that World Trigger's back. And I don't care if it's shameless. I fucking love this series, and I'm so happy it's back in the magazine. Nick, don't you fucking do it.
No. Well, I'm literally thinking about it, and I think, okay, if it weren't for World Trigger coming back, then I would probably choose We Never Learn. I just wanted to get that out there now. World Trigger probably actually had the best chapter this week, but in terms of a chapter getting just a reaction out of me, it has to just be World Trigger. I think that I might have switch around. We Never Learn had the best chapter.
The best.
World Trigger got the most. World Trigger got the best reaction out of me, and that's why I have to go with it. You know, nothing made me feel the way the World Trigger did. So there you go.
My MVP then is going to be Yugo from Promised Neverland. I think if I were to not have picked World Trigger, it probably would have either been the Promised Neverland or Food Wars. I think both of those were just super strong chapters, but there was almost every chapter this week I think had some potential to it. So, but yeah, I'm gonna give it to Yugo because he made me feel things.
When I was going into this podcast, I was thinking to myself, like, I think the Food Wars might have had the weakest week. But now that I think more about it, I do really like what it did with Soma in this chapter. So I'm going to give it to Soma. I do really like the approach that he took to the challenge and the conclusion that he reached, where it was kind of a more sympathetic side of him than you usually get to see, but it was still very much in character for him. So
absolutely,
Soma's a good character. So. That is going to do it, everyone. This has been Weekly Manga Recap, which we record Thursdays, generally around 7:30 Eastern time. You can check us out on twitch.tv/RoloT and smashcast.tv/RoloT for the live stream. But sometimes we do need to change things up, especially if there are technical difficulties like there were tonight. Fortunately, we got those fixed. Yeah, you can follow us on @WMR Podcast, @RoloT, and @Nick F Time for updates for that kind of thing. Also, be sure to check out our past episodes on weeklymangarecap.podbean.com, as well as on our YouTube channel and on iTunes. And be sure to leave a comment and rating and subscribe and all that good stuff so that we can become kings of the hobby section and defeat our eternal rivals, the Woodworkers. Which, come on. We're in a world where World Trigger is back, guys. The Woodworkers can't dominate forever.
Yeah. They're on the back foot now.
Yes. Special thanks go out to our Patreon supporters. Your support allows us to create all sorts of fun bonus content for you guys to enjoy. We recorded a showdown last night for champion level subscribers, so you can check that out. And a special thanks go out to Steve Mann, our title card artist, and Infamous Planet for all the help that you do for us. That's going to do it.
I want to add a little addition something there. I want to give a special thanks to Ninja X31, I think it is. I can't tell if it's an I or 31. Ninja has been in our Discord, and he has created this giant spreadsheet of the recommendations we've received and included things like what people's comments are, who recommended it, things like that. It's currently pinned to Discord, so if you want to check it out, it's easy to find. I greatly appreciate the work. It makes things very easy for us to kind of filter through and see.
I believe also has a list of all the recommendations we've actually taken as well. So an incredibly helpful guide, especially now that we've gotten to the point where we've taken, probably close to like 200 recommendations or something like that in the time we've been doing the show. Somewhere in there. It's got to be over 100, definitely. So.
And I guess we have to close it off with the one and only, Nick. It's time.
What?
For a new World Triggered Our Heart and Backdoor, Nick. It's back. World Trigger back. The fanfic's back, Nick. That's why we're taking a look at a World Triggered My Heart and Backdoor. Chapter 4. Ever. Model new. Back from her hiatus.
I thought there had already been 4 chapters of this.
Well, this one's chapter 4 ever, model new.
Oh, okay.
Spelled new like new metal, by the way, as well.
Gotcha. Okay.
Osamu awoke on the beach. He was nude. That symbolized his vulnerability. There was also a crying baby on the beach. The baby represents birth and renewal. The baby was crying, so Osamu went to pick it up. However, the baby was stronger than Osamu and wriggled out of his grasp before falling into the water, turning into a dragon rhino, and disappearing into the ocean.
A dragon rhino.
Dragon rhino. The baby being stronger is symbolic of how Osamu, and thus World Trigger, was not yet ready to be born anew. It also represented how pathetically weak Osamu is physically. The dragon rhino did not represent anything, but is extremely awesome and thus was included. Hello! Osamu roared with the ferocity of a baby kitten. Can anyone hear me? The sky above Osamu was dark and twisted. It wasn't like any beach he had ever been to before, but it did remind him of that World of Darkness beach from the Kingdom Hearts franchise, because let's be real, Osamu would play the shit out of the Kingdom Hearts. He looks like he'd be a Disney nerd. Hell, he probably loves that game, the stupid asshole. Hey, dick face, Katora responded, though when Osamu turned, it was not the Katora he expected to see. The love of his life was clad in prison chains that nailed her to the surface, permanently immobile. Don't ask how that works with sand. Actually, it was intentional. It represents how our reality is askew without World Trigger or something. Katora, my love! Osamu squealed as he rushed to embrace his dearly beloved. Hug me and I'll rip your dick off. Osamu stopped, knowing Katora nearly made good on that promise in the past. Katora, what's with these chains? We stopped trying bondage after I kept getting bruised up in the aftercare. Yeah, which is weird because you were the one applying it. God, you suck. But no, stupid, this is about something much bigger. World Trigger cannot come back. Huh? Osamu was confused. But everyone loves World Trigger. We're consistently the 15th most popular series in Shonen Jump, and our anime is enjoyed by hundreds around the world.
Hundreds!
I know, we're a cultural phenomenon, like the Game Boy Advance Sonic games or Zack Ryder's singles run. People can't stop talking about us, but that's not the problem. The truth is far more fundamental and devastating. Well, what can we do to fix this? The manga world needs more World Trigger. We were just getting to the penultimate battle of the Rank Wars. Give us 7 or 8 more months and we'll be in the final battle of our training arc. It's not up to me, Osamu. It's up to him. Kitora motioned behind her to the figure cloaked in a cloak, like a cloak of shadows. His name is Cloaky McShadowstein. He represents the fear and uncertainty of World Trigger's future. Excuse me, sir. I'd like to not exist in limbo for all of eternity. Don't we all, Osamu? The audience knows this voice belongs to #Ray, but Osamu does it because the character was created after World Trigger went on hiatus.
That's true.
As will be explained in a moment. You don't know me, Osamu, because I was created long after you stopped appearing in the magazine. What? We stopped appearing in Jump? Oh, golly gee willikers, goodness me, that's a son of a biscuit. What else has changed? Much. That is to say, a lot. There's a manga that teaches science now and masquerades it as an adventure. Oh, that's good, Osamu agreed. Children would be well served to know science, and blending it with a good adventure is the perfect way to do that. Oh, yeah? Well, how about Black Clover, the new ultra-popular mega series that lacks all the depth in favor of one broken main character solving all of its problems? Hey, different strokes for different folks, you know? I'm glad there's something really enjoyable for that section of the audience. More readers for Jump can only be a good thing for everyone else. #Ray/Cloaky McShadowstein was perturbed. Well, if you think all this is so good, then how about the news that you've been replaced? That's right. There's another manga starring a lead character as a glasses-wearing dork with short hair as a total beta cock. Great news! It's always good for Jump to have a variety of role models, and I'm very happy for my fellow glasses brother. Oh, yeah? Well, have you heard how awesome I am? My name's #Ray, and I have berry memory still, and you don't! Doesn't it annoy you that I'm so obnoxious? Not at all. I think it's great that you have so much stuff that makes you special. You're trying very hard, and I'm so proud of you, Mr. McShadowstein. For the first time in his life, Ray was touched by someone else. It was exclusively because they were complimenting him, but it still felt something in the surly preteen. Osamu, take Kitora and go. Huh? But didn't you say there's no place for us anymore? No. Well, but there may be no place for you in Shonen Jump anymore. There is a place for you out there. Plus, Jump has like 7 side magazines, and you could just stay in one of those for like 20 years, and no one will know. The sky cracked open, a cascade of wondrous light piercing through to illuminate the once desolate beaches and restoring their lost radiance in an immaculate dazzle. Then Osamu grabbed Girl Person and float away in light. They fuck good whole time. The end.
Did you like get really tired at the end?
It's been a lot of time with the sentence that preceded it, so I didn't have as much time. But hold on, there's an after credit scene of a song. I gotta turn it up. You won't be able to hear the start of this, Nick, but you'll know the tune as soon as we get to it.
Okay.
It's got a long build up.
Okay.
One 1,052,200 minutes. That's how long we've been without the World Trig. 1,051,200 minutes. Now we've been reunited with the manga we dig. With Chika and Akoma and Nasu and Raijin Maru. With Yoma and Kitora and the rest I forgot. 1,051,200 minutes. Fuck.
How accurate is this calculation?
If it's monthly, I ain't gonna bitch, cause World Trigger's back. World Trigger's back. World Trigger's back. Suck it, Black Clover. Cause World Trigger's back. World Trigger's back. 1,052,200 minutes. 1,051,000 more Rank War chapters to go. 1,051,200 minutes. How much do you bet the first chapter back will just be talking? We're back to chapters of planning and slicing off limbs, arguing about which boy's cuter, and eventually the apocalypse, I assume. Story never ends. Let's celebrate the return of World Trigger, cause everything else sucks, cause World Trigger's back. World Trigger's back. World Trigger's back. Suck it, Black Clover. Cause World Trigger's back. World Trigger's back.
How long is this song?
It's done, all right?